Okay, I'll sing for a few minutes.
Yes, yes. Carry on.
Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Sarvate Deve Gauravani Pachani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare
Hari Hari. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, if I can hear, I think everyone can hear.
Okay. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanananashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Sudati Padantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Mukham karoti vachaham Pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Niyatanam. So today we are jumping a little bit ahead in our study of the Bhagavad Gita. Mansi Ganga requested me to speak on a specific topic. Just a couple of days ago was the Vyasa Puja of Srila Prabhupada. And today is also the Vyasa Puja of Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who is, I believe, is a GBC for Kenya. So, thinking of in this connection, she asked me to speak about the spiritual master. the role of the spiritual master, the necessity to approach the spiritual master. And so we are going to hear a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, from chapter 4, verse number 34, the very famous verse quoted many, many times by Srila Prabhupada. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Very important verse. Krishna in this verse is explaining to Arjuna the science of acquiring knowledge. When we study the Vedas, it is very clearly explained that there are basically two ways to acquire knowledge. And in Sanskrit, they are called aroha, pantha. Pantha means the path. There is the aroha pantha, which in English is translating as the ascending path, going from a lower level to a higher level, for the ascending path, aroha pantha. And then the other means of acquiring knowledge is the avaroha pantha, which means, avatar. Avatar is one who descends. Avaroha pantha is the descending path. It comes from the upper level to a lower level. These two methods of acquiring knowledge are there. So the ascending path refers to someone who tries to understand everything and specifically tries to understand the ultimate truth, what the world is about, what the purpose of existence is, what the ultimate truth is, by his own efforts, by using his mind, his intelligence, his senses, and try to understand what this is all about. This is the prerogative, the main characteristics of human beings, that they have a higher intelligence compared to other entities on this planet who are nevertheless brothers and sisters, but have a lower intelligence. So human beings have this kind of intelligence that pushes them to understand things, to always ask the question, why, how, why, where from, where to. Whereas animals are not concerned, really, usually with understanding the essential truth of the world. They are concerned with where is food, where is shelter. They are concerned with the basic necessities of life, which Srila Prabhupada defines in pursuance of the Vedic version as eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And animals do have intelligence to fulfill their basic needs in these four areas. But human beings have a higher intelligence, which allows them to go beyond these animalistic propensities, which are all related to the body, and to inquire about the truth. This is in Sanskrit has been coined by Srila Vyasadeva as Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time. Now is the time to inquire into Brahma. Brahma means the transcendence, the cause of life, the cause of existence. Now is the time. When is now? Well, now that you have acquired the human form of life. There are other meanings But the basic meaning is, now that you have taken a human body, now is the time. Don't waste your time simply imitating animals. You can use your intelligence to improve the eating process. Animals, you take a dog, for example, he's looking for food simply by smell. He's looking for food everywhere. And when he finds something to eat, he just eats it there on the floor, on the ground. He's not bothered, not bothered. He finds a mating partner, he simply mates there right on the street. He's not bothered who's looking, what people are thinking, not bothered. He gets a little tired, he just lies down anywhere. And if somebody comes into his territory, because he considers he does have a territory that he considers to be his, he starts barking. He starts barking, biting, fighting, and that's it. And he does use some amount of intelligence to do all that. So when human beings are given a higher intelligence, they can also apply their intelligence, which actually they are doing a lot, to kind of sophisticate these 4 different kinds of activities. Human beings, by using their intelligence and to achieve higher pleasures in life, for example, instead of just eating anything they find on the floor, they have built tables, they have built all kinds of plates and cutleries, and they have developed the culinary art. They have restaurants, they have delivery at home, and they have a fridge to create some different preparations. So there is so much that has gone into the art of eating and digesting. They eat a little extra, they take some pill to digest. Similarly with sleeping, they don't sleep on the floor generally. They have invented many other things. They have made beds, they have made bed sheets, they have made pillows, they have invented beds that can rise from the bottom, rise from the top. They have invented foldable beds, all kinds of beds. They have invented the alarm clock to wake them up. They have invented pills to put them to sleep. So like that. And as far as mating, they're very expert. They have invented so many things to enhance the art of mating, including perfumes, fashion, hairdressing, makeup, so many things are there. And similarly in the art of fighting, they are number 1, up to the point of inventing weapons that can destroy the entire humanity in one go. This is considered to be misuse of the human intelligence. Human intelligence is meant to inquire about the purpose of life. And the Shastras tell us that we cannot really apprehend or comprehend the purpose of life simply by our own endeavor. Our intelligence, even though being great, is not great enough to understand the cause of all causes, the cause of existence. Our intelligence can take us up to a certain point, but not further. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also states, Nate vidu suragana. Even the demigods do not know me. They cannot know me. Why? Because when we talk of the cause of everything, we are actually referring to the totality of existence, the totality of everything, the whole. The whole. What is the complete whole? What is the truth? What is, we want to understand the cause of everything. Understand the cause of everything means that everything comes from somewhere. And that somewhere must be something magnificent, extremely powerful. What created, what caused the universe? And if you go into the Vedic scriptures, you'll understand that there's not even only one universe. There are millions of universes. Now that power which is behind all this, compared to my power, in fact, the comparison cannot really be made. There is two words that correspond to that. One is infinite and one is infinitesimal. Greatest of the greatest and smaller of the smallest of the smallest. I am the smallest of the smallest. And the cause of everything is the greatest of the greatest. And the Vedic scriptures say that the part being limited can never actually comprehend the whole, which is unlimited. So the ascending process of acquiring knowledge is not perfect and only gives imperfect knowledge. And it usually gives relative knowledge because when one wants to understand things, he starts from the world that he knows, and he tries to evolve an understanding of the unknown based on the known. So this is called the definition by negation process. And because actually the truth is not just the opposite of just a little better than what we are here. We have here what we see here, but it is so much greater. It's so much greater. So the Shastras tell us that if we are intelligent, we come to the conclusion, like the great Vedic philosopher, that I do not know, and I cannot know. This is the most intelligent conclusion, that I cannot actually, I do not have the capacity to know the truth. But at the same time, the thirst for knowing the truth is burning in the heart of every human being. And we cannot help it but search for knowledge. So the descending path of knowledge is recommended, that instead of depending on our senses, what is the sun? You just look in the sky, you see the sun. Prabhupada says it looks like a round plate. And how big is it? It's big like this. You can see it. It's like big like this. And it's like a plate, shining plate. This is what my eyes can understand of the sun. That's all. So it's very limited. And then I can use my mind and my intelligence. This is called Anuman. Pratyaksha is direct perception through the senses. And Anuman means exercising the mental and intellectual faculties to try to understand more. But that is also limited. So the third way to acquire knowledge, which is of the second category of descending knowledge, it's called Shabda. Shabda means sound, and particularly spoken sound. And the Vedic scriptures explain that in the beginning of creation, when the Lord created this wonderful world we are living in one sense it is wonderful, in the sense of amazing. It is amazing. It's an amazing place. And it's also wonderful, it's also beautiful. It has other sides which are less pleasant, but it is wonderful in many ways. The creator of this wonderful place actually could have created this place and never let us know of his own existence. He could have done that, but he did not. He did not do that. At the very beginning of creation, we hear in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahmaridaya Adikamaye. In the very beginning of creation, when the Lord creates the first living being, he gives that being knowledge. The knowledge of his own existence. Ahameva samevagre. This is what it says. It's recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the beginning of everything, I am. I am the beginning of everything. And he explains his own nature, explains his own existence, of the fact that there is another realm beyond this world. Now, this knowledge was given in the very beginning of creation. And this knowledge descends through the generations. The person who received the knowledge is always eager to give it. So Lord Brahma, who is understood to be the creator in the Vedic scriptures, gives that knowledge to the next living entities, next generations. And generation after generation, this knowledge descends. And this knowledge spreads in human society. This chain through which the knowledge descends from one person to the next is called the disciplic succession. Disciplic meaning from spiritual master to disciple. The spiritual master teaches, the disciple learns. And in his own turn, the disciple himself becomes a teacher, and he teaches his own students. And these students, in their own term, when they become mature, they also become teachers. So, Srila Prabhupada has explained to us that there are different kinds of spiritual masters who are all equally worshipful and who all play a very important role in our life. They carry the knowledge and they carry the connection with this disciplic succession, which ultimately connects us to the Creator, to that person who is beyond this world, and to whom we are connected eternally. It so happens that at the current moment we are pretty forgetful of our connection with God, or the Supreme Person. We are forgetful of that relationship. We wake up in the morning, and unless we have come in contact with this Guru Parampara, the disciplic succession, as soon as we wake up in the morning, we are not better than animals. First thing is, where is tea, where is chai, where is coffee, where is water, something to put in the mouth, something to eat, as soon as we wake up. So, this is not human life. Human life begins when we come in touch with a spiritual master. It is said that our first birth is from our father and our mother. The father and mother, they give us our first birth. They give us a body which allows us to work in this world. But what kind of work? there are two kinds of work. One kind of work that will perpetuate our existence in this world. And there's another work which is going to free us from our existence in this world, and which is going to help us return to transcendental life, to the kingdom of the Lord, where we eternally reside in a relationship with Him. This knowledge descends through the Guru Parampara, and anyone who hears this, his life changes, his life transforms. One who hears in Guru Parampara remembers. The knowledge which descends through the medium of sound, which carries the truth of our relationship with the Lord, enters through the hole of the ear and descends into the heart and awakens the sleeping soul. And suddenly we begin to remember, oh, yes, Aham Brahmasmi. I am the soul. I am the soul, the living spark. I am not this body that I see in the mirror. At the time of death, we say, of the person who died, we say, he has gone. But hello, he that you considered he is lying before you, inert. At the time when someone dies, your intelligence makes a distinction between the dead body lying here and he who has gone. Who is this he who has gone? So the Shabda says, the he who has gone, that is the soul, and he has gone definitely. His body stayed here, but he has gone. Either he has gone to take yet another body to reincarnate, or he has gone and become liberated and has gone to the spiritual sky, to the spiritual world. Our first meeting with the spiritual master is in his form as Vartma Pradarshaka, the one who shows the way. We meet someone in the street who tells us, oh, do you know that there is a temple over there? There is a temple, and every Sunday there is a program there. Or someone gives us an invitation, someone gives us a book. Someone somehow speaks to us about the Lord, about Krishna, about God Himself. It is the first time we hear. It descends. The person we meet has heard. And from him we hear. That same sound is coming down generation after generation after generation. And as soon as that message enters our ear, we begin to awaken. And we have come in touch with Guru. Guru is a teaching principle. The Lord Himself is our teacher, is our master, is our teacher. He is the spiritual master originally, who stays in the heart as Antaryami. And He does speak to us from within, like He did to the first living entity. He revealed the knowledge within the heart of Brahma. Brahma was pure. He could hear, but I am impure. When the Lord speaks within my heart, I don't hear. Or when He speaks, I hear, but I don't follow. So that Lord in the heart who wants to guide us manifests himself externally through various kinds of people. The first one being the Vartama Pradarshaka Guru, the spiritual master who shows the way. And thanks to that person, we end up in an association of devotees. And we begin hearing more and more and learning more and more about the process of spiritual life, the process of spiritual understanding. We learn about spiritual activity. We hear this, and we hear sometimes very systematically, like here in Eldoret, in this group, we are hearing the Bhagavad Gita. You are having all these classes, and very systematically you are going through the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and you are hearing the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, one after the next, one after the next. So this is called shiksha. Shiksha, teaching and learning, hearing, receiving instructions, receiving knowledge. And this knowledge transforms our consciousness, and it guides us, it transforms our life. And those who are instructing us in this way, who carry the knowledge in their heart and who speak the knowledge, they are known as Shiksha Guru, the instructing spiritual master. The instructing spiritual masters. They can be many. The Vartma Pradarshaka, usually he is one. You meet him once and then you end up becoming a spiritual seeker, active spiritual seeker. And the Shiksha Gurus, they can be many, so many of them. We learn from the beginning, we join Krishna consciousness. We are learning from different people. And there are various kinds of Shiksha Gurus. Some are teaching us the beginning levels of Krishna consciousness. Some we meet later on, and they help us elevate ourselves to further levels of Krishna consciousness. And even when we near perfection, when we are nearing perfection, also Shiksha Guru is there to guide us beyond this world, to take us on the journey back to Godhead. So there are very different levels of Shiksha Gurus. They deliver the instructions. And then there is another kind of spiritual master called the Diksha Guru. The Diksha Guru is the Guru who connects us in a more formal way to the disciplic succession. What is that connection? That connection actually is a combination of an acceptance which is there from the part of the Guru who comes in disciplic succession. He accepts the disciple, and at the same time, the disciple commits himself or herself to following the instructions of the spiritual master. Because one thing is you can get instructions and you can just hear and hear and hear. You can hear for years, like you just keep hearing and hearing and learning, but the hearing has to be followed by application. We have to apply the knowledge. We have to act upon what we are hearing. We have to become dedicated to spiritual culture. If we practice Krishna consciousness in an unregulated way, kind of superficial way or light way, we will obtain some results because whatever practice we do is powerful. Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasava Shaktis, the Lord says that the power is in my names. All the power has been invested in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All the powers of the Lord, imagine, all the power it took to create this universe, all that power and much more is within those names. So we can chant those names once in a while. We go to a satsang and we chant the names of Krishna. It's nice to be in the kirtan. And sometimes we go to a class and we listen to the Bhagavad Gita, like that. But meeting the Diksha Guru usually means a turn in one's life, in the sense that we are now going to accept the ongoing process of Krishna consciousness, of the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. We are not going to chant once in a while. We are going to specifically chant a fixed number of rounds every day without fail. There is a commitment. The time of initiation is a time of commitment. So we are going to chant a specific number of rounds, which in ISKCON has been set by Srila Prabhupada as 16 rounds of Mahamantra on the Japamala every day without fail. No matter what happens, whether it's raining and I'm very sad, or the sun is shining and I'm very happy, whether I got a job or I just got fired from my job, whether I'm 16 years old or I'm 20 years old or I'm 70 years old, it's the same number. And I'm going to every day follow certain rules and regulations, which some of them we know. For example, we commit ourselves to eating only prasadam. We will eat only prasadam, nothing else. Not that sometimes we eat prasadam, wonderful. No, we eat only prasadam, which means that any food that we get, we actually offer it to Krishna. In the beginning, we depend on others to give us some prasadam. But after some time, we learn how to make prasadam. How do we make prasadam? We have to offer food to the Supreme Lord with devotion. And if we offer anything with devotion to Krishna, then he will certainly bless that food, and it will become an active element which is going to also transform our consciousness and protect us from material influence. So usually Diksha means we commit ourselves to eating prasadam and to acquiring good habits such as getting up early in the morning, chanting, and then studying, reading. Srila Prabhupada has written so many books, so every day we come in touch with these books, we read them, we hear lectures, and so on. So, so usually the person unto whom we make that vow, we make that commitment that we are now, we become a sadhaka. Sadhaka means one who is cultivating his eternal nature. Cultivating his internal nature is a practitioner of spiritual life. When he is on the way out of this world. His Prabhupada said, we are in the airport. We have reached the airport. And we are waiting for the flight back. But we are already in the airport. So when you are in the airport, you know, there is a special point in the airport where you cross the, what they call it, the immigration. You cross the immigration. Once you have crossed the immigration, it's practically you're no more in the country anymore. You are in an in-between land. You cross the immigration, then you're going to fly and you reach on the other side, and until you cross again the immigration, then only you enter the next country. So we are already in that zone where we are no longer in the material world. We are no longer in Kenya. We are no longer in UK. We are no longer in the USA. We are no longer anywhere in this world. And we haven't yet crossed the border on the other side, but the journey has begun under the shelter of the spiritual master. Usually the Diksha Guru is one only. We said that the Shiksha Guru can be many. Suppose you begin your Krishna consciousness in one town, and then 5 years later you move to another town. So you change your Shiksha Guru. You have different people you meet throughout your life. Or you go to learn Shastra in a school somewhere. Those who will teach you, they will be your Shiksha Gurus as well. We know amongst the 6 Goswamis, one of them was Jiva. And Jiva Goswami, a very famous teacher. And people used to send him their disciples, meaning their Diksha disciples. They would send for Shiksha to Jiva because he was a great philosopher and a teacher. So they would send their disciples to him for learning. Srila Prabhupada says that usually the Shiksha Guru of a person very naturally at some point becomes the Diksha Guru. So there are different circumstances in our life, basically. So the question is, how do we find the spiritual master? The spiritual master, we said, is a manifestation of the Lord of the heart. So we need to pray. We need to develop the eagerness to have that connection with the spiritual master, with the disciplic succession. We need to beg the Lord to please manifest himself and send us the spiritual master. And usually at some point in our life, we meet someone. As I said, either it is the person from whom we have been taking instruction. If that person is a sufficiently advanced devotee, that person may become our initiating spiritual master. Or at some point we will meet someone, take instructions, and then take initiation. There are various combinations. Srila Prabhupada was the only spiritual master when ISKCON was founded. He is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, which means founder means he created ISKCON. He created that society to facilitate association between devotees and to facilitate the spreading of Krishna consciousness and to facilitate the teaching of Krishna consciousness. And he was the only spiritual master. He traveled the earth 11, 12 times. And wherever he went, he was the teacher. There was no one else. And so he was teaching. And when people would hear from him, and when they would become ready for initiation, ready to commit themselves to follow a spiritual discipline. In Sanskrit, disciple is called shishya, shishya, which means one who follows a discipline, a ruling, shash. There is shastra also. Shastra is the scriptures, and scriptures also are a ruling. We accept authority from the shastra, from the guru, and from the sadhus, the shiksha gurus, those who are teaching. We accept knowledge from that. And all three are leading us back to the spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada was the only spiritual master in ISKCON for the entire period that he was preaching. And usually in many spiritual institutions, which are usually never as expanded as ISKCON. Usually spiritual institutions, they belong to a certain town or city, or they belong to a certain country. But Srila Prabhupada created the International Society for Krishna Consciousness all over the world. He himself opened over 100 temples in many countries. He traveled to about 25 countries at the time. So whereas most of the spiritual leaders of any of their movements, they usually either they just lead for a while and then they just pass away and everything vanquishes, or everything is vanquished, or they try to create a successor, the next person who is now going to lead. They are looking for one amongst their disciples who will be able to perpetuate the institution that they have created and pass on the teachings. But this is not what Srila Prabhupada did. He did not appoint or designate or cultivate just one successor. And this is actually what he did is much more extraordinary. Srila Prabhupada established the culture of Guru-Shishya relationship. He established today, about 50 years after Prabhupada created the ISKCON society. This society is led, guided by, I don't know exactly how many, but let's say about 200 spiritual masters who are doing exactly what Srila Prabhupada was doing. They travel, they speak, they initiate disciples, they instruct disciples, and they contribute usually to the construction of temples and so on. So this is very extraordinary what Srila Prabhupada did. He actually recreated this culture, the spiritual culture. He re-spiritualized human society all over the world. And this will only expand in the coming centuries, we can say. We see, I mean, Prabhupada in 1966 was in New York, and he had a handful of followers who could not even really understand who he was. Even we today may not be clearly understanding who Srila Prabhupada was. A messenger of God who came to this earth. And certainly after some time, few centuries maybe, the most famous person we know about in the world is Jesus. Jesus Christ, such a powerful messenger of the Lord, that 2,000 years after him, after he came, his message has reached millions of people and is spread all over the world. There are Christians all over the world. Similarly, in a very short time, because of the modern technology and modern facilities for traveling and so on, in 50 years, Srila Prabhupada has carried this message directly and through his disciples and now through his grand disciples to 165 or something countries around the world. And there are thousands and thousands of disciples. And the movement is growing. It is growing, and according to the predictions of the Shastra, it will continue to grow for 10,000 years. The Srimad Bhagavatam itself is meant to create a revolution in the misguided lives of the people in this age of Kali. From our parents, we cannot learn the truth. We have to approach the spiritual teacher who comes in the line of disciplic succession. Today, people have no clue what is dharma, what is adharma. In other words, what are favorable, pious activities and what are sinful, impious, unfavorable activities which are going to give us trouble. People have no clue. Most of the world is smoking. Most of the world is drinking. Most of the world is having unrestricted relationships. Most of the world is lying, gambling. If you look into the Shastra, you will see that all these activities lead the living entity downwards, all the way to hell. But we are meant for elevation. We are meant for elevation. We are compared many times to someone who is drowning. Someone who is drowning in a river and who cannot save himself. The current is too strong. The forces of nature which are controlling our minds, our emotions, our bodies are so powerful. We cannot do anything about it. We cannot stop death. We cannot stop disease. As we can see today in the world, what has happened, we are all living very peacefully, very opulently, actually, very happily. We were just living what would be called a normal life. And then suddenly, something happened. Corona came. And now we are confined. Fear has spread all over human society. Death is rampant. There is always a risk of dying from that virus. Our lives have changed. I don't know how it is in your country, but where I live, already some producers, some items are not available. Some things we used to buy, taking it for granted, and they are no more available because trade has stopped. Transport is not done the way, things are not transported from one place to the next as they used to be. And who knows how things are going to evolve further. We are completely controlled. In many countries, the governments declared lockdown and forced the populations to actually stay at home and not go out at all. They closed the shops, they closed the trains, the planes, they closed up everything. What could we do about it? Nothing. We just had to accept it. We are completely controlled in this world. There is no freedom at all. And this is explained by the spiritual master. So one who is fortunate meets such a person from whom one can hear and from whom one can get blessings. Most important. We are drowning in that river, completely at the mercy of the current. To save us, we need someone who will come and pull us out of this terrible condition in which we are. Someone will pull us out. And how will that person pull us out? Through knowledge, as well as by wishing us well, by praying for us, by invoking the mercy of the Lord upon us. One of the main things that the Guru does is pray for his disciples. Oh my Lord, please have mercy upon these fools. As many times we do behave like fools. The spiritual master is praying for us, is invoking the internal potency of the Lord. Is connecting us. Is connecting us. We talked of a chain. There's a chain coming, descending from the Lord. When we connect to that chain, through Diksha and Shiksha, both are actually inseparable. Diksha, Shiksha. They are inseparable. And when we connect through that chain, we connect actually with the internal potency of the Lord, the spiritual potency of the Lord, which will enliven us and guide us into performing activities which are going to free us. So that person who comes and takes us out of this world is most worshipable. Therefore, we hear of the ceremony of Vyasa Puja. Vyasa is the name of a great sage. He's the one who put the Vedas into writing, reorganized them, edited them, put them into writing for the benefit of us, the people of this age. So proud of ourselves just because we have built a few skyscrapers. We have invented planes. We have achieved a few things by using technology. But Vyasadeva, the great sage, actually says about us, Prayenal Payusha Sabhya Kalavasmin Yuge Janaha Manda Sumandavataya Manda Bhavyalipamitaha. He says in this age of Kali, everyone is short-lived, can die at any moment. So many diseases, so many imperfections in the bodies, so much crime, short life. Usually our scientists try to explain to us that through science, we will be able, or the scientists will be able to increase the duration of life. But the Shastra and Lord Vyasadeva says that actually there are periods when the duration of life is much longer, 10,000 years. Then it reduces to 1,000 years. And then it reduces to 100 years. And that's where we are now. If you get to 100 years, you're really lucky. We have short lives, and the scientists are not going to increase the duration of life. The duration of life will only decrease more and more, because this is the age we are going through now, different. Just as there are different seasons throughout the year, which carry their own influences. The winter season comes along with cold. The summer season comes along with heat. And then there are different manifestations. Sometimes plants are growing. Sometimes plants go into a sort of hibernation. So similarly, there are universal seasons. And we are, universally speaking, in the winter. And everything is kind of frozen. Our lives have been shortened as human beings. And then he says, not only we have short lives, which means that we don't have much time to understand what this is all about, this life. We don't have much time. When people used to live 10,000 years, well, they had time, much more time than what we have. But we are living less than 100 years. We hardly have any time. And all people understand this. Young people, they think, oh, I'm going to live forever. But all people understand, whoa, where did my life go? It's like it was yesterday, I was 18 years old. And today, I'm almost nearing death. It passed very fast. And then he says that we are actually very lazy, characteristic of this age. We are lazy, spiritually lazy, materially active. It's called active foolish. If there is some money involved, we will run. If there is some enjoyment involved, we will run. But when it's time to actually sitting and studying the Bhagavad Gita, trying to do good to others, time to learn, time to chant, time to pray, tomorrow. For that we always have to push ourselves. We have to really make an effort. It doesn't come naturally. Our intelligence is reduced. When we see through the eyes of Shastra, through the eyes of the spiritual master, we see life in a different way. Not that we are becoming more and more enlightened, more and more intelligent through technology, through medical science. No, not at all. We are becoming more degraded. Nowadays, you ask any youngster, 5 by 8, multiplication table. 5 by 8, nobody knows what's 5 by 8. What's the result? 5 by 8 equal, or where would I have to find? I need my calculator. I open my mobile, I find the application, I calculate 5 by 8. And then I get the answer. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't know spellings. I need the spell check. I don't know counting. I need the machine. Things which just a few generations back people could do, we can't do them anymore. We can't do them without the assistance of machines. How dull are we going to become in the future? So we are not evolving. We are degrading. And it behooves us who are hearing to get on the train and try to qualify ourselves, because actually to accept this, there are many kinds of masters in this world. You have the mathematic master, you learn maths at school, and you learn baking, and you learn so many things. One time I was in somebody's house and he told me, "Oh, my Guruji has come. I want you to meet my Guru." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Meet your spiritual master. I mean, your Guruji." Call him Guruji. And then he introduced me a person who looked so gross, was dressed in kind of simple gross clothes and looked so gross. And I was wondering, this is his Guruji? What kind of Guruji is this? And he told me, "This is my Guruji. He taught me everything, how to fix AC." That was his business. He was fixing ACs. He taught me everything about fixing AC. He's my Guru. I said, "Okay." There are different kinds, people that accept different kinds of masters or teachers. But the topmost study is the study of the soul and the study of the nature of the universe and the study of the cause of life. That is the highest study. And the spiritual master is the topmost teacher, the topmost master. And just as if you want to learn how to fix AC, you need some qualification, but that's quite basic. And if you want to learn how to pilot a plane, you need a bit of a higher qualification. If you want to be the head of a state, what do you have to go to political school? You have to, you have to be more qualified. So similarly, to accept the spiritual master, we also are required to have some qualification. The spiritual master will accept one who has some qualification. So in this verse here, which we haven't even read first, we read it once. The qualification is called pranipata. Pranipat, submission, humility. Nitam, pranitam, humility, gentleness, submissiveness. And then it says sevaya also, service attitude. These are qualifications. Very rare, because in this world, instead of being humble, people are rather arrogant and proud. Instead of being submissive, they are rebellious. They are domineering. They like to dominate. They like to exploit. So to approach the spiritual master, we have to start a process of transformation of our consciousness. And then the pariprashna, that we have to inquire, we have to have the desire to know. And we have to inquire from the spiritual master. We inquire about the goal, we inquire about the process to achieve the goal. And we inquire about, say, the environment around us, how we are connected to everything. So when we hear, Srila Prabhupada says here, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. How did they see the truth? They saw by hearing. The hearing of the message transforms our vision. And then we can see the world in a different way. And ultimately, initially we see through hearing, we see through the Shastra. And then later, we see directly the truth. We see the truth directly by developing a transcendental vision. So Srila Prabhupada says here that the Lord advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. The Lord gave the knowledge to the first entity, and this knowledge is coming down, down, down. And we must connect ourselves with someone who has heard from another. The qualification of the spiritual master is said to be Shrotriyam, Brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam means that he comes in disciplic succession, he has received his knowledge through the descending process, through hearing. And then Brahmanishtam means that the spiritual master is fixed in transcendence, meaning that he is not engaged into any material activity. He's only engaged in the service of the Lord. He's fixed in that, and he's not controlled by his mind, he's not controlled by his senses as we are, but he is directly controlled. We said that through the chain of disciplic succession descends the internal potency of the Lord. The spiritual master is under the rule of the internal potency of the Lord. He is what do you say, activated, or is electrified, we could say, by that spiritual energy. And all his activities are sublime, are meant for the enlightenment of mankind. So unto such a spiritual master, we offer our respect, we offer our worship, and we offer our service. Such, Prabhupada said, one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant. In this world, everybody is trying to become number one, but becoming a disciple means accepting to be eternally number two. The Lord is number one. The spiritual master is number one. They lead, we follow. But we do not follow blindly. Therefore, it says here, Prashantamataji, that one should ask questions. One should understand with one's intelligence. One should not just accept blindly what the spiritual master says. One should inquire into the truth by asking questions. And the questions should be given not as a challenge to the spiritual master, but simply to clarify one's understanding, with the understanding that whatever the spiritual master says is correct. But I need to understand. I need to clarify my doubts. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiry and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. So the service to the spiritual master is most important, because the whole idea is to please the spiritual master, to please the Lord. And when someone is pleased with us, usually they are ready to bestow anything upon us and give us anything we want. And if they are not pleased, then they withdraw and they don't want to give. So if we want to get knowledge, we need to, the spiritual master has to become favorable to us. In one sense, he is always favorable. That is his characteristics. He's a well-wisher. And he's pouring knowledge. But we also have to become a proper recipient, a receptacle, that the knowledge can actually come to us. So when the spiritual master sees that we are practicing and absorbing the knowledge and we are applying the knowledge, he becomes pleased. And to apply means to serve. It means to serve, it means to follow his instructions. To qualify for initiation in our ISKCON currently, as per the standards that Srila Prabhupada has said. One, we said we need to chant 16 rounds. And another point is we need to follow 4 regulative principles which keep us out of animalistic life, which protect us from the dangers of sinful activities. It begins with no meat eating. Devotees become vegetarians, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is instructing us to offer him patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, vegetarian items, food made from vegetables, from milk products, as far as possible. Avoid except when there is a complete emergency, devotees avoid killing animals for food. There might be some emergencies somewhere, but otherwise, the Lord prefers to be offered food coming from the vegetable kingdom. One explanation of this is that the species of life, the same soul which is in the human being, is also in the grass. It's in the dog, it's in the camel, it's in the tree. But the different bodies allow the soul different levels of perception. When the soul enters animal life, the perception is enhanced, and the perception of pain is enhanced. If you kick a dog, he goes, kai, 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 kai. He feels the pain. If you kick a tree, it says nothing. Number one, you may say, oh, because it doesn't have a mouth. But it doesn't just not have a mouth. He also has very reduced sense of touch, no sense of sight, uh, reduced sense of everything. All the senses are very much reduced, and therefore the pain is not really perceived. So, no gambling, that's another principle. Avoid gambling. And also no intoxication, which refers to big things such as hard drugs, heroin, cocaine, no. Tobacco, no. And wine, whiskey, all kinds of alcohol, which, why is it? Because spiritual life means to enhance one's consciousness. And all intoxicating substances, they actually dull the consciousness. They are not enhancing the consciousness. They may, at best, bring us to a world of hallucination. We'll hallucinate something, but they don't actually expand the consciousness. The consciousness is expanded when it becomes spiritualized. So intoxication is the opposite of enlightenment. And then the fourth principle is no illicit sexual activities, which means that one should follow dharma and peacefully live within a consecrated family life. Or if one doesn't want to be in family life, then one should simply renounce everything and be a renunciate. So these are some of the things we need to prepare ourselves when we want to take initiation. We have to understand these principles and begin practicing them. We have to increase our chanting and become fixed in chanting 16 rounds. We have to study, read, develop the desire to be a committed disciple. So maybe we will stop here and take a few of your questions.
Prashantamata, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad. Please, can you give a few words of glorification for His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami?
Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Yes. Well, he is one of the senior disciples, very senior. Today is his 76th anniversary. He's senior in age, and he met Srila Prabhupada, I don't know exactly in what year, but he was in Canada. He's from Indian descent, but he was living in Canada. Met Srila Prabhupada, and from the beginning he became a leader. He was a Grihastha initially, married, and later on he became a sannyasi. And he has always been a leader in ISKCON. So therefore, very powerful personality. Srila Prabhupada initially, his initial disciples were all Westerners, foreigners. But then gradually, as the movement took roots, Indians also started to come to him, and especially in the beginning, Indians who were abroad. And Maharaj was like that. He was abroad. And later on, Srila Prabhupada appointed him as the GBC for India. India was always very difficult to manage for the foreigners because India is a different world altogether. They were not able to manage things in India. So Maharaj became the GBC for India. Maharaj has been involved with many things, including the international BBT and the Indian BBT as well, which is the society besides ISKCON that produces Srila Prabhupada's books. And Maharaj is a very determined leader in the field of book distribution. distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And even though he's now 76 years old, I don't know who can follow his schedule. Maharaj hardly sleeps, 3 hours maybe. And he travels with deities. He likes deity worship very much. He has established so many temples, including temples in India, which are very large. And he travels himself with Shilas and with deities, and he does his worship in the morning. He stays awake until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and never misses Mangal Arati. It's very amazing. And for Janmashtami, usually he wakes up in Delhi and does Mangal Arati in Delhi. And then for Darshan, he's in Vrindavan. And then in the afternoon, he gets to Bombay. He does at least 3 places in one day. He travels extensively. He has one of the biggest GBC zones, which includes Africa, which includes places in Russia, in North America. He goes to a great number of places. He is also someone who is extremely skilled at dealing with leaders of countries. He's very good at PR. In India, and not just in India, he has many times been a great defender of ISKCON through his connections. He cultivates heads of states, ministers, all kinds of people in official posts. And in times of trouble, he uses his connections to help temples or ISKCON itself. So it's an extremely influential person. As far as his personality, some of the traits are, for example, Maharaj is very grateful, which is a superb quality. He's extremely grateful. Whenever devotees serve him, assist him, work with him in his different areas, somehow he becomes extremely grateful. And this is something which touches the heart, like you really feel that you got noticed, which everybody likes to be noticed. So Maharaj is very good with that. He's extremely grateful. And it comes from his heart. It's not artificial in his gratitude. As soon as one does some service for him, immediately he will lean towards that person and feel that you will feel that there is a connection with him because he becomes grateful for his service. So that's one of his qualities that I have personally come across, that I have experienced. He is also usually very kind, gentle. He is not someone who gets angry. He is not someone who will shout. Or he's usually very gentle, very peaceful, very quiet. He's extremely determined. He has goals and he walks towards his goals with iron determination. He's very dedicated to Srila Prabhupada, like many of Prabhupada's disciples who have become leaders. Is very, very dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's instructions. We said in the field of book distribution, Maharaj is a leader in book distribution. In ISKCON, we have the December marathon. Most of the time I am in India, and I can see that before December, Maharaj starts traveling. he travels to temple after temple after temple after temple to fire up the devotees in book distribution, to check whether the temple presidents have ordered the books, and so on. And he has been doing that forever. And so he's a leader in that field. As I said, also, he has built so many temples and beautiful temples. He inspires high standards in the design, high standard in the deity worship. He has many disciples, thousands of disciples, and he's encouraging them to preach, to distribute books, and so on. What more to say? He's a wonderful person, certainly. One of the senior most members of our GBC. He has been on the GBC, I don't know whether he's one of the first ones, practically since the inception of the GBC. He has been there. And he attends all the GBC meetings, usually doesn't miss anything. He's always there. Nowadays, when you see him, he looks extremely frail, 76 years old. He had problems with the heart some years ago, and bypass, and he had all kinds of fixing of his heart. And somehow he continued with his life and has been extremely active. As I was saying, he's hardly sleeping. And he goes on a morning walk every day. Prabhupada used to do. He goes out with his, sports shoes on, and he goes out on a walk. Eats very frugally, hardly anything, and spends the whole day meeting people, talking with people, meeting with leaders, meeting with all kinds of personalities. So he's a great director. As we said, Prabhupada didn't make one leader, he made many leaders. So he's one of them, and very active person, very dedicated person. In spite of his advanced age, that, as I said, when you see him, he looks so frail, it looks like a little breeze, and he's gonna be, swept off. It sometimes seems that he can hardly stand. Nowadays, when he goes to do Abhishek in any temple, usually they bring some big 5-liter or 10-liter kalash to pour, like on the Panchatatra in Mayapur. Maharaj cannot lift that. So there's always someone else who is lifting, and Maharaj is putting his hand on it, and you can see that his body is so frail. He walks slowly, and when he speaks, actually, sometimes you have to hear very well because his voice is a little low. But there's a lion inside, and he's unstoppable. He keeps traveling, he keeps preaching, he's active like 20 hours a day. So, and definitely someone who is very dear to Srila Prabhupada and who is empowered by Srila Prabhupada. And we pray that he may remain with us for many years to come. Recently, we lost another very senior leader, His Holiness Bhakti Charuswami. That was very sudden departure. Maharaj was in rather good health, better health in one sense than Gopal Krishna Maharaj. But the corona took him, and so Prabhupada took him away. So yes, we should hear and take advantage of the association of these direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They carry something within them that they have seen Prabhupada in person. They have been trained directly from Srila Prabhupada, and they are empowered by him. Their association is invaluable, actually, and we should take their association as long as they are amongst us. It is a great sadness to think that actually in the next 10 to 15 years at the most, that generation will not be with us anymore. And so we should also feel very grateful that we were part of those people who may not have met Srila Prabhupada, but who met the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, could see in them the reflection of what Srila Prabhupada was and what Srila Prabhupada brought, what he gave. Hare Krishna.
Is Kirtika there? Kirtika, or you're still, Kirtika is a bit busy today with the visitors. So questions? Such a powerful class, so I would have thought there would be floods of questions. So Parth, if you can take over, I need to go get to Nairobi just to give my glorification of Maharaj. I mean, yes, is that okay? Parth?
Yes, Mataji. Yes,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Just, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to go when they announce my name. I've always done it, so they expect it from me. Anyway, fire away questions now.
Hare Krishna, I request all the devotees, please, if you have any questions shortly, 1 or 2 questions, you can just ask.
Yes,
You can inquiry.
Prashantamata, Haribo?
Yes.
You have to answer shortly. You know, don't make another class because I don't know how you can do it. It's almost 10:30 for you. And I must acknowledge Narmada today. Narmada has joined us from the UK. Very old friend of mine from Nairobi who's in the UK, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the last kind of 10 years. Every time I told her, come on the Zoom, and she said, I can't get in, I can't get in. So I think Aisha Leela went and helped her. Yes, Narmada? Did Aisha Leela go and help you? Yes? Yeah. Yeah. Can't hear. Anyway, so happy to hear Narmada and see Narmada there. There's a bhavna. I cannot make out. I have 6 or 7 bhavnas on my list. But, and there is an Anthony Sebastian who comes all the way from Mumbai to hear you all the time. So really I have to thank all these souls who take this time to be with us. And I'm very happy. Narmada has been to Eldoret, by the way. She was with me here. I think we had very good time here in Eldoret. All the more I wanted her to be with us in the Eldoret group. So great, Narmada. Narmada, you don't have any questions. She's always full of questions.
No, today I'm not prepared for the questions yet.
You don't have to prepare questions. You just have to ask questions.
Yeah, okay. Next time I'll make sure that I have some questions.
All right.
Hare Krishna. Is there any question? Anyone? Sure.
To be honest.
Okay, if there is no question, then we'll just conclude this session. Today is a very powerful session. It's the 76th Vyas Puja Mahotsav of his ISKCON, a great guru, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj is going on. And Nandotsav Day on the 13th, we are also celebrating Prabhupada Appearance Day also, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So this week we are full of busy since Janmashtami up to today. So next week we are supposed to be celebrating him Radha Ashtami, the appearance of Srimati Radharani. So we'll just conclude this session. If any question, then you can just write and Mataji, if any question. Today Mataji is just highlight what is the importance of a Guru and Guru Tattva, how we supposed to be go to the surrender of a Guru, how can we serve, how can we answer, how can we ask questions for our spiritual growth, and so many things very deeply and very vividly. She gives the clarification how the importance of a Guru. Okay, we are not supposed to be go to take shelter a cheap Guru who have no idea in the scriptures. There is no disciple succession, and there is no knowledge about the scriptures and other things. So we supposed to be very careful when we supposed to go to any organization or any, we followed any rules and regulation or any philosophical religion, so-called religion. We supposed to be very, very careful, and we supposed to immediately check with the scriptures it is allowed or not. So thank you very much. I so appreciate. I show my gratitude to Her Grace Prashantamataji. It is 10:30 p.m. in India, but she is still with us and giving his her lecture. For glorification of Prashantamataji, we are chanting Hare Krishna Mantra 1. Please join with me. Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama.
Rama, Hare Rama.
Thank you, Prashanta Prabhu. You actually very analytically, very logically, very step by step, you explain exactly the way I wanted it. So really, really thankful. Hare Krishna. I have to get on to the other program.